Hey everyone, and welcome back to Wishbone Football. Thank you for joining me again on episode 1.02. I've wired headphones tonight, so I know that I'm not going to have to re record this at 11 p.m. Eastern. So, when it comes to episode 2, we're going to be diving in a little bit on the NFL Combine that took place last week. I first want to say that anyone that was there for the entirety of the 8 days, kudos to you. I saw very little media action there on Friday, Saturday of last week mostly. Um, there was a few troopers that hung around, and I applaud you for that. But when it comes to it, yeah, that is a place that picks up early and shuts down early as well. Mainly everyone being there Sunday night through Wednesday, sort of thing. Hopefully, that's a trip I can make next year. So, the way I want to go at the combine is I've actually got a couple of prospects that I want to talk to you about, not specifically for the Buffalo Bills. Definitely thought about them for a couple of these prospects, specifically my first one. And then I also have some college stuff I wanted to get into, and also some news of what's going on in the last week since the last time we talked. So first, I'll jump right into Caleb Banks. Caleb Banks, for if you don't know, is Florida defensive line, 6'6", 327 pounds. This man is a giant. You need to see him and see him at work. It is incredible. The reason I have immediately thought about the Bills because Jim Lienhard, with our new defensive line coach, or I'm sorry, defensive coordinator, he wants to move the Bills to a true 3-4 defense, and I mean putting a man who's 6'6", 327 in the middle as a nose, that would be incredible. Now, the other thing that shocks me as well is he has an 85-inch wingspan. 85 inches. And typically in scenarios where normal people, I will say, who are not freak athletes, if you were to measure your wingspan from middle finger to middle finger across your chest, that is how tall you are. I know that for me, it is very close to my height, being about 6'3". However, if you were to actually take his 85-inch wingspan, that would make him 7'1". His wingspan from tip to tip, middle finger to middle finger, is 7 feet 1 inches. Think about that when you are a 3-tech nose tackle and you are trying to absolutely gum up holes in a run game, get pressure over the center in the passing game. Like, if you have, I think about Tua Tagovailoa. I mean, we call him a Dolphin now. Next time I record this pod, he may not be a Dolphin. He is not tall. There has been times it's been documented, he's literally throwing the ball off linemen's heads. Could you imagine if a man who is 6'6" coming through your center at you with his hands up? So him running at you with his hands up, and he's 7 feet tall against a quarterback that is 5'11", I think. I don't know how you don't get scared about that, and why more teams wouldn't want to take more of a risk on someone like that. I mean, I get it. He may not be the perfect prospect, but how do you not take a chance on someone like that and give it a shot? I just looked it up. Tua is 6 feet 1 inch. I don't know if that is from the NFL Combine height measurements, because I wouldn't be shocked if him and Diego Pavia are about the same height. And Diego was listed at 6 foot at Vanderbilt, but once he got to the NFL Combine and got measured, he is 5'10", I think, or I think he came in at 5'9 3/4. Either way, he's not tall. So the one other thing that came up to me with looking into Caleb Banks is he has the longest wingspan. Caleb Banks, I'm clearly talking about, longest wingspan at the Combine since 1999 for defensive tackles. Think about that. Think about how many freak athletes that have come through the Combine over the last 27 years who have never had a bigger wingspan than Caleb Banks. And you don't even have to look at massive guys, but I think that's incredible. I think that's an incredible feat that you can't say no to. You can't say no to that as an NFL GM. I think that Caleb is absolutely something that a lot of teams could look at and say, you know what, if we had him, maybe we don't need an elite edge rusher. Maybe we just need a all-right edge rusher with him. And I immediately think of Greg Rousseau. Is that someone that we can have on the field with Caleb Banks that is going to provide a wonderful, wonderful strong side blitz or strong side pressure on the defense? Caleb Banks is one of 4 I have here total. So, a second one. I'm clearly favoriting the tall gentleman. I'm not going to lie about that. The next one I have is offensive tackle from Miami, and his name is Markel Bell. He is 6'9", 346 pounds. That is unheard of as an offensive tackle. Yeah, you want guys who are like 6'4", 6'5". That's where you want your offensive line, realistically. Hence why I played a little offensive line. But when it comes to someone who's 6'9", it's almost like he wouldn't be a good offensive lineman for Tua Tagovailoa. He's not going to see past him. I got this from PFF, but he received an 83.5 pass block rating from PFF. And that is going based on the following stats. He had 558 passing snaps in college. He gave up 0 sacks and only 15 pressures. 15 pressures out of 558 sacks. That's incredible. That is why he received such a high passing block score. Because when you think about it, that is him giving up a pressure once every 37.2 down passing plays. So think about that. How many offensive plays are you running in an NFL game? 50? Let's assume it's 50. and you are running the ball 20 of those times. So on average, he is giving up one pressure, not sack, pressure per NFL game. Now, this is going to be difficult because you can't say the college game is the same as the NFL. It's simply not. However, he did play at Miami. He played on a Miami team that went to the national championship. And, I mean, ultimately lost against the Hoosiers. But that was a team that was very good offensively and throwing the ball. I mean, they had to be. They had Carson Beck, the googly-eyed man, but he was very good. And I think it shows what Mario Cristobal has built at Miami is a very good program. I mean, getting a lineman who is, well, now 6'9", entering the NFL draft at 346 pounds, those guys don't just show up at your program hoping to find a position. Those are guys that are now being recruited and getting paid handsomely with NIL money. The other thing I wanted to touch on with Markel Bell, I mentioned he's 6'9". He has a wingspan of 87 inches. 2 inches taller, 2 inches wider than what Caleb Banks was, giving him a wingspan of 7 feet and 3 inches. And when you are playing the tackle position and having the ability to have a reach advantage over any defensive lineman or a defensive end, that's huge. That's huge. And at 6'9", I think that's someone that is going to feel good about drafting him when we get there in just over 6 weeks. 2 more guys that I wanted to highlight from the draft that I felt weren't getting enough credit. The first one I will say wasn't getting enough credit, and the second one I will say is getting too much credit. So the first one is Colby Young, wide receiver out of Georgia. He has had some off the field issues. I won't get into that. He did go to Georgia, so I mean, good chance he's probably been arrested for reckless driving at some point in his Georgia career. That's just the way it goes. That's what happens up there in Athens. Colby Young, wide receiver from Georgia, 6'5", 218 pounds. He hit the fastest top speed in the gauntlet drill at the NFL Combine in 2026. Now, and for some of you who don't know, what the gauntlet drill is you start off on one side of the field facing one way. You're going to catch a pass, immediately turn around, catch another pass, and then you are running clear across the field. As you're running across the field, you're going to be thrown approximately 4 to 5 balls. And the idea is that you need to get up to speed as quickly as you can, run as fast as you can while catching these balls, holding on to these balls, and showing what your handwork can be at the NFL level. And I think it's a great drill. I'd almost prefer to see that be a more prominently shown drill in the combine, because who needs the 40? I need to see the wide receiver run across the field catching the ball. I don't need him to have both of his hands on the ground, put one arm up, and then run as fast as he can for 40 yards. It's not useful. Everyone who continues to overbuy the top runners in the combine, you're getting hurt now. Like, it's not what it used to be. And I think that is, the gauntlet drill has more of a physical application to the game than running as fast as you can for 40 yards. Look at Xavier Worthy. Xavier Worthy has run the fastest 40 time ever. 4.21 seconds to run 40 yards. And what has he done with Kansas City over the last 2 years? And I am saying that as a Longhorn fan. Xavier Worthy went to the University of Texas. And I loved him at Texas, but it's not great now. He is turning into a jet screens and wide receiver end arounds. That's what he is going to be useful for. And when I look at the Buffalo Bills, that is probably why it was for the best that the Bills traded down, because ultimately that was the draft that the Bills traded back with the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Chiefs went up and took Xavier Worthy. But we'll leave that the way that it is. But like I said, Colby Young, 6'5", 218, wide receiver out of Georgia. I think he is not getting enough love at this point, and I'd really like to... He is going to be one that I keep a close eye on. Everyone's going to have a different view of his off-the-field issues, and I looked into what it was. I really don't want to get into it. I don't want to speculate. I don't want this to be a speculation pod. I'm just trying to say that what I saw out of him and the times that he put up, I was happy with. I don't think, and at 6'5", you're getting a true X receiver. You're getting a guy that is playing outside the numbers, and he is going to be catching contested balls. Now, over the last 2 seasons, he has only played 15 games. So I think that with what his skill set is and how fast he can run, which, by the way, he did run a 4.49 40, and honestly, that's good enough. Like, I don't need them to be incredible. I need them to separate. And separation is not always done on the outside via speed. Sometimes you need the footwork that gets you away from DBs. And I think that because of the off-field stuff and there is a bit of injury history over the last 2 years, I honestly think that he's a guy that GMs could be looking at stealing him in like the 4th or the 5th round. I would not be shocked about that. So write it down. You heard it here. Colby Young is going to be a good NFL wide receiver. The next prospect I wanted to look into, and I really wanted to spend a bit of time on him because he is being mocked to the Bills a lot in the first round. And that's Casey Concepcion. Kevin, I don't think is going to be a great fit for Buffalo. He is six foot tall, led Texas A&M last year in receptions. Mind you, that That was a good Texas team. That was a good Texas A&M team. Um, who did have college football playoffs aspirations, but ultimately went out in dramatic fashion in the first round of the college football playoff. Um, there are a lot of different things that lead me to not wanting to be a big conception guy. I mean, 886 yards, 9 touchdowns. If that is leading Texas A&M in stats, it's a bit of a problem because that's not a big year yards wise. 61 receptions, 919 yards, 9 touchdowns. It's not a lot. We have ESPN has him listed as 5'11". I got 6 feet. Maybe I'll see what the NFL has to say on it. But when it comes down to it, he's a slot guy. You are drafting a first round slot guy that isn't an oh my god guy moment for me, if that makes sense. There are good things that he would probably come to do for you, but he's not a burner. He's not overly exciting. He may end up to be a middle of the road kind of wide receiver. And I wonder if he looks better because of the need everyone has at wide receiver this year. So when it comes down to it, Casey was listed at 6 foot by the NFL. Production score was rated as 75. Athleticism score was 71. I mean, I think we're trying to overbuy these wide receivers that every team desperately needs. I don't have an answer for the Buffalo Bills when it comes to where they should be picking at 26. I've run through multiple mock drafts and there are a few instances where I get to 26 and I'm ready to trade down. Honestly, I know no one wants to hear that, but when I've been running mocks on PFSN, it's been like I've been getting reasonable value in what people are willing to offer me for me to slide back to the second or very early second round. Like if there was one offer I got to slide back to 35. So you're picking up 35 but you're also picking up like the third round pick for that team as well, and it's just like, well, there's value in that. This is a could be a numbers game draft wise for the Buffalo Bills where they need more volume in drafts. And the other thing I wanted to mention about Casey Concepcion is, other than him being a slot guy, like I said, he he does. I don't see the speed to separate. And I mentioned prior with Colby Young that he doesn't have crazy speed either. But as a slot guy, you need more speed to separate. You can't rely on mechanics and footwork to get you around as a slot guy. And that's where I don't see a whole lot of value in that. I think if deployed the right way, we can be using Khalil Shakir better in the slot, Dalton Kincaid better in the slot, and take your pick of who else. I don't think that we need to be running out to be getting another slot guy in the first round. If Casey Concepcion was mocked to the Bills as a fourth round pick, I'd be fine with it, but not at the first round. I mean, is the first round going to be better used as for an edge or a linebacker? Are you going to get more positional value out of a first round draft pick playing linebacker or playing the edge, playing defensive end? It's a hard question to answer, but I don't think, personally, you do not draft slot guys in the first round unless they are can't miss guys, and I don't think Concepcion is. I do have one more bonus draft guy that I wanted to talk about. This one hits home for me a lot. His name is Jennings Dunker. You know him, you love him. He is the ginger mullet. Anyway, that's what I'm calling him. I don't care what the rest of you call him. Offensive lineman coming out of Iowa, 6'5", 319. He has the absolute build for an offensive lineman. That's exactly what you want. That is the prototypical offensive lineman build. And Iowa has notoriously been a school that has been a run-heavy, we are going to beat you in the trenches. And I think that you are getting a great prospect in Jennings Dunker. And, I mean, you can't miss the flow when he's running down the field. Some are calling it the greatest mullet of all time. And I'm not going to argue that. And gingers unite. I am a ginger, and I mean, happy to see another football player out there. And because of what I've said about Iowa, this is what's going to lead us into our college football portion of this program. Nicole Auerbach of NBC has reported there is an update with respect to the Oversight Committee for FBS football. So what this means is the portion of college football that thinks they still have control of college football is now coming together on the Oversight Committee to maybe change some rules here. What it's pertaining to specifically is on the rule targeting. Currently, the way the rule is read, that regardless of the time in the game, the player will be ejected for the remainder of the game. And if it happens in the second half, then that player will also be ejected for the will also be disqualified for the first half of the next game. So, targeting, it's been a problem early rather than now. And when I say early, 2000, 2020, 2021 sort of thing. It has gotten better because of the penalties, I should say now. So, for those who don't know, targeting is you are you are getting ready to make a tackle. However, you are leading your body with the crown of your head into the player. And that's what they don't want. They want to see your helmet not make contact with the offensive player that you are tackling. And that's obviously to avoid penalty or injuries. We know it. There's no denying that. Now, they are looking to soften those penalties a little bit now, which is what Nicole was reporting. The proposal is for a 1-year trial, and it would be as follows. The first targeting call for a player, they can play the next game regardless of which half the targeting call comes from. The second targeting call would be disqualified for the first half of the next game. And the third targeting call would be disqualification for the entire next game. So what they have, the data that they have given us says that, yes, it happens once, sometimes happens twice, and almost never happens a third time to a player in one season. So they're softening it, but then they're adding this third rule of a full game. And I think that is warranted. I think they're doing what they should be, is softening the front end of the penalties and making the tail end of it harsher, if that makes sense. So we're going to not be as harsh on the one-offs, but we're going to be harsher on the second and the thirds, if that makes sense. So I think this is a great move because everything that we have seen, it is helping. The players and schools, like, they're tackling better. They're being taught to tackle better. It's starting earlier now in junior football. It's leading with the head is not going to help you as the tackler, or vice versa if you are the tacklee. It is going to lead to injuries. We know this. And I think the what is left of the grasp the NCAA has on college football, I think this is a good move. Now, there is another proposal that I'm not really on board with. And for those in my sickos community, they're going to know why. So the next proposal is kind of entertaining. It's that the entirety of football players' legs must be covered. And for you guys that may not watch a whole lot of college football, this is an insult to all of the kickers with short shorts out there. And we've seen it over the last couple of years where the kickers are there to hang out, drink some Gatorade, and boot the ball 4 or 5 times in a game. And so they've gotten away with wearing some questionable things. Essentially, we'll call them shorts because that's essentially what they are. Now, the NCAA wants to use this as a injury protection piece as well, which I can't really get on board with because they're saying that there is not a thigh protector or a calf protector on the kickers. Because some of the kickers aren't wearing a full sock. Some of them are wearing a short sock and short shorts. So the NCAA is bringing this to the oversight committee. We're going to see if it ultimately does get used and is implemented for 2026. So, with respect to the legs, there are some penalties that go along with that. Players who are not in compliance would have to leave the field and return when in compliance. First offense. So that is the first offense. So kickoff for the game to start. Kicker runs out there, short shorts. You can see his thighs. You can see his legs. Referee sends him off. He has to sit out one play. And that play could be the opening kickoff where he is expected to boot this ball 60 yards down the field to get this game going. The second offense, if it was to happen to the same team in the same game, second offense is that the team would receive a 5-yard penalty against the offense or defensive player that is committing the foul. And again, that person would need to go off the field and return when they are back in compliance. And here we go. Third offense, or any subsequent offenses, I should say, result in a 15-yard penalty. No questions asked. That's pretty incredible. It's a big step. If that's not too much to say, because you're having someone who is spring ball, summer ball. You have a kicker who basically will not put a full uniform on all spring and all summer. There's no question about that. Everyone's out there, shorts, t-shirt. Yeah, I got my cleats on. Let's kick some balls. I need to work on accuracy. I'm good. And then we get to week 0 in Ireland, and all of a sudden kickers are ready to go, but they don't want to. They don't want all the padding or all of the full pants and the full socks on, because maybe they're not practicing with that, and maybe that'll be something that teams and schools will look at starting in spring. Now, a couple of things to get you out of here on that kind of has come up today, really. Because today, I'm recording this at 9:30 Eastern on March the 4th. We are 50 days today till the NFL draft in Pittsburgh. I'm very excited about that. Remember the name Colby Young. Colby Young. Wide receiver, Georgia. You'll know when you find this and you start following me on Twitter or Instagram. Colby Young will be a name I'll be talking about again. Now, yeah, like I said, I'm recording this on March the 4th. This was an exciting day for the NFL. So, like I said, draft is in 50 days today. Trent McDuffie traded to the LA Rams. It just continues to show you that the LA Rams do not give an F about first round draft picks, because they have 2 this year. They took one from Atlanta last year when they wanted to get back into the first round. And it's just incredible that you have this Super Bowl winning team from what, 4 years ago, who has basically not used their first round draft pick, with the exception of one in the last, I think, 8 years. I'm going to have to look into this. My plan was to do a pod again on Friday night, and I may still do that. So maybe I'll dig up the numbers on the LA Rams and their first round draft pick usage in the last 10 years. I'm quite certain that it's terribly low on how many times that they actually use their first round draft pick. And when I say use, I obviously mean stand up there and call someone's name. Because everything else has been, we are trading our first round draft pick for a proven veteran that is an incredible talent. And I will take that offline. I'm going to look into that. I may have to compile that myself, and maybe I'll tweet that out tonight when I'm putting up this podcast. So, Trent McDuffie goes to the Rams. The Rams give the Chiefs 29th overall pick this year, 2026 draft. They're a 5th round pick, a 6th round pick this year, plus a 3rd round pick for the 2027 draft for Trent McDuffie. And I'm not going to lie, the Bills play the Chiefs again this year, obviously. Kind of glad we don't have to see Trent McDuffie. But that also gives the Chiefs the 9th overall pick and the 29th overall pick in the first round this year. That's what's scary. That's what's scary with these NFL teams that are going to continue to come back and be very good each year. I'm talking like Kansas City Chiefs, Buffalo Bills, Baltimore Ravens, and all Eagles, Seahawks, 49ers. I'll kind of throw all of them in, LA Rams, is that you have one down year and the Chiefs are drafting top 10. Like what kind of product are you going to be getting at 29? Does that mean they're in a window to possibly trade up to get Jeremiah Love out of Notre Dame? Like, is that a move that we're talking about here? It's just incredible what one down year could do for you, and how you can turn that on a dime and hopefully see production come out of it. Honestly, it'll be interesting to see sort of what Kansas City does, not just at the draft, but in free agency too, because they are. It's wild to say that the Kansas City Chiefs are over the cap number currently, but I saw a graphic that they are a team that has 0 void years going forward, which is incredible. And for them to be able to do that in this day and age is really good. But that's besides the point. Maybe something I'll kind of get into if and when I do a pod on Friday night. So, like I said, the compensation going back to Kansas City. So we're talking about 29th overall. Chiefs are getting 29th overall pick, 5th, 6th for 2026, and then the third round pick for 2027. It's a huge trade, and this continues to show the Rams are going to go at it again, being all in before Matt Stafford is retiring. Are they a team that could win the Super Bowl this year with one or two of the correct pieces? And they're right back there. It's insane to think. Anyway, moving on. Stefon Diggs You know him, you love him, maybe you hate him. I mean, there's a good argument for both. He was released today by the Patriots. I was actually a little bit shocked by this because usually all the teams get upset with Diggs in his second year. So maybe the Patriots knew that and kind of got out ahead of it. Anyway, stat line. I want to get into this a little bit. So 85 for 1,013, 4 touchdowns. It's not bad, but it's also not great. I mean, it's like 500 yards under his season or his career high, but we knew he wasn't going to be at his peak level like he was with the Buffalo Bills. And I honestly think that maybe he's someone that we can be moving into the slot as well. That maybe needs to become a poor man's version of who? Khalil Shakir? Of a Mike Evans? Is Mike Evans like a good comp now for Stephon Diggs? Where Stephon Diggs just needs to be in the slot and be catching 4-yard slant routes with some yak but he's never had the speed. He's had good hands. He's had good footwork. That's what always has made him good. But I mean, 85 catches, that's a big hole to fill as the Patriots now too. And with this release, does that lend its hand to where the Patriots are going to be drafting this year at 31 with their first round pick? Are they a team that's now going to be in the wide receiver market heavily after this cut? And who's left over there? It's not Mr. No Shoes. I mean, I think that they got lucky to get where they are to the Super Bowl last year with what they had. But we'll leave that alone, possibly for another day. And that wraps up what I've got for us here tonight, guys. I really wanted to touch on the NFL Combine. I always find that exciting. As silly as it sounds, I ripped on the 40 a little bit earlier, but I don't know, shit. I just love watching 6-foot guys run as fast as they can, and 7-foot guys run as fast as they can as well. Because when you get some of those defensive linemen moving and some of those offensive tackles or offensive linemen moving, it's pretty good. I mean, I was never running any 4.9s when I was in college either, but I also wasn't a freak athlete like most of these guys are. So, without further ado, thank you guys. Thank you for finding me, and thank you for listening to episode 2 of Wishbone Football Podcast. You can find me on Twitter at WishboneFB, and you can also find me on Instagram at WishboneChad. So, again, thank you very much. I am Chad, and this was Wishbone Football.